Okay, we should be recording live with day 5. If your name came up as mine, hit the 3 dots next to it, hit rename. One last time, I'm going to mention that. No big deal if it doesn't. All right, so today we're trying to summarize everything we've discussed into a concise little package for you guys, so you have your takeaways and can walk away from today's call with a lot of clarity. So just so I have a good list, what's kind of been a win of yours? Just drop in the chat since you started implementing what we've kind of discussed. It's never immediate payoff necessarily, but there should be some small win to hang your hat on to this point. Got Tino in the, looks like in Mexico, like the nice backdrop. Love it. Giving me FOMO, even though it's not a real backdrop. I'll take it. We've got Lori saying more steps. Good. Martha's getting a foundation. She signed up through this. Good decision, Martha. And Al, you guys are ready to rock. We'll chat next week. It's a little overwhelming at first, typically. Lori, increase my steps. Okay, so that's a big takeaway is how do we hack our metabolism? The most immediate thing to do is just move more. The longer term play, build muscle, don't crash diet, and 8 other strategies we're going to talk about on today's call. All right. Good stuff. Got Jamie, Michael, Joanne, Faye, Mitch, clone, another Mitch clone. Okay, good stuff. And Jackie, I know you. Can we rename you so people are? It came up as Mitch just because of the link. I'm gonna rename you to Jackie, so I know we're gonna be chatting with you at the end here.
Thanks.
All right. Sharing my screen. Unfortunately, Facebook's not cooperating again. So those that are asking me why it's not streaming there, unfortunately, it's giving me some unknown error. So we're gonna have to repost the video on there afterwards. Hopefully everyone can join us on Zoom that has access. Okay, there it is. Okay, we are live. Sonia, helpful tips. Okay, quick story, just to kind of bring this point home, because people tend to approach fitness with a lack of urgency. It's always that, oh, I'll start next Monday, next month, next year. And 10 years go by and we gain weight and we realize, oh, shoot, we probably should have started when we first got the spark. You're human. We all do it. It's a perverse form of procrastination, but it really seems to rear its head when it comes to fitness. And this story always kind of sticks a knife in my gut because it's why I do what I do. Like, we'll call him Serge. That's not his real name, but he reached out on Facebook about becoming a member of CalFit. I think this is probably 6 years ago now, and had all the signs that he probably should start something, but did that whole stupid human trick of, you know what? My life is just busy right now. Let's circle back in a month's time. And I know where that story tends to end, but I know better than to push at that point because they have to kind of figure it out on their own. Unfortunately, in this case, a post came up on his Facebook feed from his wife announcing that he had died of a heart attack on his bathroom floor, in his 40s. Now, was it a hereditary thing? Maybe, but he had 50 pounds to lose. That certainly didn't help, didn't contribute to that. And he has 3 daughters. Well, they're a little older than mine now, but they post on his birthday on his page, sharing updates on their life. This always chokes me up. Updates on their life and what he's missing, because he's not there to see them walk down the aisle, have those milestones in their life. And I don't know if joining my program would have made a difference, but I know starting when he got the spark would have, at least potentially could have prevented a disaster, right? So that's what this is about. It's about doing the simple little habits that make all the difference in your quality of life, your longevity, and your day-to-day. Just waking up with more energy to play with your kids or grandkids, whatever the case may be. All right, so I'll get off of that, but I think it's important to start with that foundation and get super clear on why you need to make changes, because most of us do, frankly, at some point in our life, and we let it kind of slide before it's too late. So here's how to keep your metabolism firing. This is the stuff I promised today. It's going to be helpful to reiterate. So keep your NEAT up. That movement piece, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, basically just walking, parking further away, doing the dishes, doing the laundry, playing with the kids or pets. Look, they're bored staring up at you. Daisy's not impressed right now. She's staring at me. Mom's not in the house, so all the pressure's on me to entertain her, and she's not pleased. But we'll save that for later. Pace and place. Do all this stuff. Yes, there's a science behind it. People who walk more tend to live longer, better lives. There is some actual enzymes that are deactivated or activated from whether or not you're moving. So try every hour to get up and do something, even if it's just a tiny little pace around the house. Number 2, again, reiterating what we spoke about on day 2, make protein the star of the show, right? Because it burns more calories to digest it than equal amounts of carbs and fats. As much as 30% of the calories from protein don't count. It also has a residual effect on filling you up more and obviously supports muscle maintenance, which is a longer term play, but equally important to your metabolism. And we'll get into that in a second. That's why we want you to lift heavy enough weights for you. It's, blanket recommendations don't work here, but if 10-pound dumbbells really challenge you and you're close to failure at the end of your sets, that's heavy for you. That's all that matters. Every pound of muscle does burn twice as many calories as equal pounds of fat. It's not a huge difference at the end of the day, but think logically, if you've got 20 more pounds of muscle and you've dropped 20 pounds of fat, that's a pretty big difference when it comes to resting metabolism. You also get a little bit of burn from your workout, not only during the workout itself, but afterwards. Again, not enough to make up for bad diet, though. That's the caveat. Don't crash diet. And there is a time and place maybe to expedite things. If you've got a time-sensitive goal, there's no real harm in doing this in the short term. But people tend to get stuck in this cycle where they go super hard, crash diet at 1,200 calories. That seems to be the standard number. They lose a fair bit of muscle in pursuit of fat loss, and they end up rebounding, right? You can do this the right way by eating a lot of protein and strength training, but it's not very sustainable or fun. So I would suggest trying to get out of this mentality of losing as fast as possible. Lose it smoothly and keep it off. Smooth and sustainable. More water. Again, one of our foundational habits. A lot of benefits to water. It does boost your metabolism. Now, this 30% number did come from one study, and it was very short term afterwards. I wouldn't say this is going to make or break you, but we all know water is good for us, staying hydrated. We can then tell the difference between thirst and hunger. It does suppress appetite a little bit. Also keeps our joints healthy and our brain functioning as well. Injury risk lower, all that good stuff. So make it a priority to be in that 2 to 4 liter range. Tough one for many of us is to get your sleep. It has a triple whammy effect. It ups your ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone that promotes eating, and suppresses leptin, which is the hormone that tells our brain that we're full. And the more sleep deprived you are, the worse that gets. It can also affect the way you process sugar. There's potentially a risk factor in the studies to like pre-diabetic type 2 diabetes if you're chronically underslept. And it can lower the number of calories you burn. It's not a huge difference biologically, like just your system slows a little bit. But where it is when you just don't feel like exercising when you're exhausted, right? When you wake up tired. That's the bigger difference. Is on the days I don't sleep, I tend to get less steps by default. Everyone's following so far? Type a yes in the chat. I've got some nodding heads. Okay, that's good. Love it. So more of the hacks that make very little difference, but some difference, assuming you've got the first 7 in place. Got some yeses coming in. Nice. Trina, Joanne, good. Caffeine itself has a modest impact on metabolism, but I find caffeine helps me perform better and I move more just because I'm more energized. So I think that's more where the difference is being made. You can overdo this where you get too high of stress hormones, and that can lead to overeating and seeking out sugary foods. But you know yourself best. One coffee is good, or you can manage or metabolize two, more power to you. Just word of caution is on how it affects your sleep if it's too close to bedtime. Okay. What about the shortcuts? There's someone thinking that in their head, even if they're not saying it. So let's get right into it. They aren't really shortcuts. That's the cliffhanger. Ephedrine HCl. You may have heard of this. I think it's in some really bad drugs mixed in, but you can get this over the counter in Canada. I don't recommend it. The metabolic increase is only 5%, and it can have serious side effects. Enlarged prostate. Where I think it actually can affect people is just blood pressure increases. You're kind of speed and spaced out a bit. I would suggest it's not worth your while. And it's fairly commonly used in the bodybuilding circles. And I think it has a point of diminishing returns very quickly. But I'm promising to share all the shortcuts today. DNP, horrible for you. Does lead to rapid weight loss. I don't even know how it's consumed, if it's an injection or pill or what, but very risky. And what you're buying online, who knows what you're getting, can cause heart issues. It's like an actual poison. So you sweat a lot, burn a lot of calories at rest, but you feel miserably and you can't hardly move most throughout the day. Actual deaths related to this quite commonly, actually, if you look at the literature. So I hope that by mentioning this, no one looks it up. I want to cover every base today. Definitely not something to look into. Not worth your life to lose a few extra pounds. Retatrutide. This is the latest GLP-1. So you know GLP-1s like Ozempic. Tirzepatide is the more recent one that seems to have a little less side effects. Now this one is in phase 3 trials, maybe hitting the market in the United States next year or 2026. Again, we don't know enough about it. You can't get access to it right now, but it does actually show, and this is the first drug I've seen, shows an increase in metabolism without having to do anything else. Most of these other drugs just suppress your appetite, make you feel sick and full that you don't want to eat, right? Which I don't know if that's even a good thing in the end. Okay, so short answer is there's no shortcuts. Unless you find one, I have not yet come across it. The answer is in the basics you're overlooking. So that's what this whole 5-day session was about, was helping you put blinders on and focus in on the big rocks that move mountains for you. Those habits that most know what to do, but they don't do it consistently, right? So you know you need to embrace a lifestyle change. Type 1 in the chat if you're ready to do that. This last piece we're going to talk about is how you're going to actually implement. Love it. We've got some ones popping in. I know I'm preaching to the choir. Some of you guys are members already, but you get it. No secrets, no shortcuts, but a system is what you need. So what's the link between knowing and actually doing in a world set up to do the opposite of what you need to do when it comes to eating right, exercising? Our whole world is set up to overconsume calories and sit around a lot. And what is that piece? Well, I can only speak from my own experience. And I've heard this a lot. I was the one that said this as much as anyone. I know what to do. I just need to do it. From people who don't ever lose weight. Why not? Well, for me personally, in the early 2000s, I was on that roller coaster ride of losing 10, gaining it back, kind of getting on that vicious cycle. And hiring Ken Hill, who was an online coach before online coaching was even really a thing, helped steer the ship in the right direction. He was the first guy in my life to, get me off the BS and focused in on the basics. And just having that wise sage in my ear every Monday to tell me, oh, wait, no, don't be chasing shiny objects. You just got to do better on XYZ is why I lost those 60 pounds finally. Okay. So I'm a firm believer in the golden ticket being accountability, implementation. It's the gap between information and implementation. It's just having a community, a coach, and a support system. You can get it in other ways, but this is the way I've found that works best in building my business, but also building my body back in the day and still to this day. So shortly on, we're going to have someone on shortly to speak to their experience, but want to whip through these because people need proof, I find, to believe in anything. Nowadays, especially, I think it's more, we're really living in a time where trust is at an all-time low. And you can see stuff online where it promises the moon without work and just magic results, right? And I don't think that exists, or else I wouldn't be in business, because I'm promising work and time. And as long as you have support, you can keep going and see it through, right? Okay. Oh, forgot Ron got ripped. Lacey's mom's on here. 5 sizes, mom of 5. I can't believe what she was able to accomplish. I have 2 kids that keep me up at night. Can't imagine adding 3 to the mix. Our bed wouldn't fit them. So kudos to what she was able to accomplish in that time frame. Brett lost his love handles. That's always the focus. You can't necessarily spot target those areas, but by doing the right things, coaxing fat loss, not forcing it. He said himself, he never really sweated through his shirt, was his quote. But walking enough, focusing on nutrition, lifting things up, putting them down, that was the result. Gina's on here, but she was earlier in the week. Absolutely crushing it to this point. Not all with me. She had 70 pounds in the last year. Kurt crushed it. Abby's our coach on our team, and he worked with her. Okay, I think you get what we're doing here. Good. Plus, just for those over 50, it can still happen. Takes a little longer, a little more concise effort, but it can absolutely happen. Rose is on here. That's her. Good stuff. Brian, Doug is here. And Jackie. Let's unmute Jackie. Let's talk to you. I think you have a cool story and lots of Jets jerseys, which is good for
yeah.
the audience we have. Where were you before starting? I know you were starting to deal with hormonal menopausal symptoms.
Yep.
And a lot of that seemed to correct itself without any magic, right? So take us back to that.
I guess so I was turning 50, and in a year, I guess it was a year from the time I was turning 50, and I was like, I need a change. I need to get into shape. I need to feel better, and just a whole bunch of things were just happening with my body that, we're not good. And so that's when I joined. And I actually have never really, I'm not really one for diets or anything. Like I've never really don't believe in them so much, right? But then this program intrigued me, and I thought, you know what, let's give it a try. And I think it was within the first month I dropped 5 pounds right away, or within the first few weeks, I think it was. And then from there it just kept going. But all I did was just follow the program, and that's when all of a sudden I noticed even the changes in how the way I was feeling, how like just those symptoms that I had, like the bloating, and like it was going away. Like I still don't really I don't have that at all actually anymore, like I used to. So it was good.
Yeah, that's a huge takeaway. Is it's not inevitable in aging or menopause to have all these issues, night sweats or otherwise. When you focus on the right things, reducing alcohol, eating more protein, like the swaps we all talk about, it seems to really address a lot of that. Now, there is a case for HRT in some circumstances. That's beyond my scope. But in your case, it worked out great, which is awesome. Were you skeptical of anything early on, like before you started? I know there's lots of people that are scared to invest in coaching or invest in a program because they don't think it'll work for them or they won't work for it.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, with the not really doing diets and doing that stuff, of course I was skeptical at first, because you just don't know, right? And it's a lot to invest. But then I kind of took the mindset of, I'm investing in myself, and I took the challenge, right? So it was good.
Yeah, Rose can vouch for the fact
Mm-hmm.
her symptoms disappear as well, which is awesome. That's really the big wins. But maybe speak to your results. Like obviously your pictures show
Yeah,
So
and
impressive
I
trip.
actually I think I lost even a little bit more from when these pictures were taken, but
Yeah.
um I did meet I turned 50 in October. Um I had lost, I think it was 40 pounds. Felt great. Went on a nice long went on a trip to Paris. Walked, 30,000 steps. you know, just and feeling like not having those. Like I guess before I did the program, I went on a trip. I went on a big trip to Scotland and Ireland, and it's a lot of up and down. And I would get winded like no problem. Like it was after a couple steps, it'd be like, oh, but what a difference, just complete difference. And then in January, I went to Mexico. I had never been for a wedding, and I actually wore a bikini, and it felt great. I haven't wore one in a long time out in public, and I didn't have a problem with it. It was good. It was like the whole experience has been great.
That's awesome.
And
Yeah.
I found it really easy. Like I honestly did. I found the
Mm,
whole program easy. I mean, there was times when it was hard, but it was easy to follow something that I could do at home. I didn't have to go to the gym. I could just, but I think when I put my mind to something, I do it, right? So that's what made it easy.
yeah, for sure. The commitment has to come first, but
Mhm.
the goal is to give you a system that's sustainable from day one so that by day 365 and on, it's kind of seamlessly fits into your life. Now, of
Yeah.
course, eventually transition to more less counting, tracking, and more, just lifestyle change because you've gotten to your goal kind of thing. But the big takeaways, I think, from what you've shared is how it improves quality of life, conditioning. A lot of people want to travel and really enjoy their life. I think that's important. So not having your physical limitations hold you back. The fact that we haven't had you killing yourself in the gym, home workouts 3 times a week, it makes all the difference.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any final thoughts to someone who might be on the fence I guess you have to go back to where you were before you started. There is some natural apprehension. What would you tell that person, whether it's with the coach or not, how to get started?
Uh, I don't know, just well, you have to be committed. Like you really do have to be committed to wanting to do it. Because if you're not, you won't succeed. Like you have to be able to commit to putting in the time, making the changes. I bought a scale to weigh my food, right? Like I I still do that just because it's natural to me now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those things do come natural eventually. Um, some stuff I don't necessarily need to track anymore just because I know certain
Yeah.
things. I have like set food, like just have set food that you want to that your go-tos, right? Your go-to for protein. Um, Trying to think of what else. I just having the community to talk to and ask questions was huge as well. Like, and having the push, with, Mitch, with you checking in with me, um, helped as well. Right. And I could ask questions,
Mm-hmm.
and because sometimes you just don't know where to start. You don't know, if you get stuck somewhere, you don't know who to ask. Right. And just having that there, was huge. Yeah. So,
Big time. Yeah, and that speaks to that accountability piece. We do better when we know we're being watched, but also having the support, someone to lean on, because you're pushing a boulder uphill the initial few months, trying to undo bad habits or whatever and build good ones. It feels like a lot more effort than it eventually kind of gives way to pushing the boulder downhill. Yeah, a little harder or a little easier, sorry, in the back end of that, but it takes time to get there. And now you're there, right? So it's like these second nature behaviors that you've built. Awesome. Appreciate you taking the time to jump
yeah, no
on.
problem.
We'll keep rolling here. So I know we're tight for time. Rose, you got great things to say. I should be having you on too. You kind of summarized nicely in the chat your thoughts as well. Oh, where we're at. I forgot to put that in. So I think you get the idea if you're not a member yet. I'm speaking to the choir here for the most part. We know what we're doing. Not to say I know everything. I'm the first person to admit, I'm not sure why your weight spiked today, but we're going to figure it out. And it's a collaborative approach. That's really what I'm about. But the goal is to get you to follow a sustainable plan right from day one, something that you can actually stick to. You don't have to give up your favorite foods. You just have to kind of pick and choose your battles and work out for 30 minutes. Hopefully you think you could be successful if you did that, if you followed that template. That's it in a nutshell. Drop a yes in the chat if you're with me on that. Yes, good. That's what it's about. So if you can't commit to that, then my process won't work for you. And that's okay. Maybe there's someone else that will sell you a dream. But we're here to teach and speak the truth. All right, so talking about the first step on this journey together. I've shared it in depth. I've already had a conversation with a few of you. A few of you already joined. Martha, good decision. So here's how it looks, though, in a nutshell. If I had to summarize things, we use an app, but we merge the technology with the human support. So I don't think the technology is worth it if there isn't another layer to it where you're actually being observed and someone's kind of tweaking and looking at what you're actually doing. So we've tried to blend these two. The technology is awesome these days. You've got, right at your fingertips, track your food. You can watch workouts loaded, but will you do it if it's just you? That's the age-old question, right? And having the accountability of someone there with you seems to make all the difference. Got a lot of yeses in the chat. Rose, best method to lose and keep it off. Yes. Rose, what is a FMS assessment? Functional movement screening. I wouldn't get too caught up in that. It's like a basic way to tell how mobile you are. We use warm-ups in our workouts to basically address that as it is. So it syncs with Apple Watches, all that fun stuff, so that the technology is right there at our fingertips. We can use all that data to adjust the plan. What we've introduced in the past year is community challenges. This really gamifies the grind. I think you kind of naturally work harder. If you're on a leaderboard and there's a nice, friendly, competitive spirit to it, we do give away prizes and top 3 and all these fun things. And then you can kind of see where you stand. And it's basically just points for doing what you should be doing in terms of the program, right? So nothing beyond where you're already expecting you to do. So right off the top, custom training plan, nutrition plan. We do have a liftoff call we like to do in the first few days with Abby or myself to kind of get you clear on what we're expecting of you and get you, familiarized with the app. We do calls like this every Friday as a group, generally with a specific topic in mind, but open Q&A. We do have a mindset expert on the team as well, Gavin. He does monthly trainings, and then we do a session more geared to just kind of address that 5-inch space between the ears, because I think mindset is as critical as the nutrition and exercise piece, right? And then we do live virtual workouts, which not everyone participates in, but that's certainly on the table. If you find you do better with someone kind of guiding you in real time, that's what those are for. Okay, yeah, every 90 days we map out a plan using my perfect fat loss blueprint. It just charts out a course for, okay, here are the 3 process goals to focus on over the next 90 days. Here's the outcome you're aiming for. This is how you're going to get there. Everything else we've already touched on. And every Monday without fail, I do send my Monday message. Sometimes I get a little long-winded with that. Members can attest. But it's packed full of value. It really helps me stay on top of the latest research and science. And then teaching it is the best way for me to actually retain it and gain something from it. Ninja ice cream party. That's a new one. We'll have to get that happening, Rose. You get lots of recipes and PDFs and programs, depending on if we got joint health issues. There's an abs of steel training. All this stuff is there as a bonus, and you pick and choose what makes sense for you. Okay, so this is, I should caution, this is the averages. And I would say majority on the lower end of that range. This is for someone that's got, 80 to 100 pounds to lose. We can conceivably lose 30 pounds in 90 days, but for the most part, we're trying to lose quality weight and make sure we focus on body fat percentage more than anything. And ideally, for someone new to weight training, we add some muscle into the mix. So the net loss in this case is even greater than the scale might suggest. And 2 pant size promise, 3 inches for the women, 4 inches for men. All right, and then yes, we've got these guides. We've got what I call the last minute cut. So that's 14-day rapid fat loss blueprint. Do not recommend it unless you're desperate. You've got a beach vacation in 2 weeks' time. Lots of good stuff in there. It will work. But again, I'm about sustainability first and foremost. Okay. Then tons of recipes and a fast food cheat sheet for in a pinch. And then we're going to get you a copy of my book as well. All right. So for those on here that are trying to talk themselves out of this, life will always be busy. Life is crazy. It only gets harder. The ideal time to start something like this is when you are backed against a wall, unless you're dealing with your own health scare issue or something. But for the most part, if you can instill these habits when you're busy, they're going to stick around when you're less busy and when you're inevitably busy again, right? So there's really no rational reason to wait, to hesitate, to procrastinate, right? And what's really the value in getting fit? I think you've heard from a lot of members over the last 4 or 5 days who said, just take the leap, you'll figure it out on the way, and you'll see the immediate benefits to what you're doing. And the time effort is worthwhile. Because what is the cost of staying where you are? Unless it's the spot you want to be, all good, right? But we want to get you to a place that you feel your best, that's going to sustain you for decades to come. Quality of life is what it's all about. And really, this is overlooked, but I still think in a world that's all about body positivity and faking it till you make it, I still feel my best when I'm fit. It's hard to be a present active parent, present active grandparent, if you don't feel great about yourself, right? So that's what we're trying to accomplish, is whatever that looks like to you, getting to your optimal state of health. Yeah, Martha, I hear you. Procrastination, it's very easy to rationalize waiting another week, month, or year, but there's some real research behind that. The more we delay, the harder the eventual process will be. Because likely speaking, we gain a few pounds or we get a little bit older and things only get harder. All right, so to summarize today, for those who haven't yet booked this call, I've had 10 scheduled over the last 2 days. We still have several open through Saturday. So you can either do what you've learned. The information is here for you. I would say for the most part, you have to do some work to piece it together. But implementing it, navigating the ups and downs of life and still making it work, that's where I think, and I'm biased, our program, our community can help you navigate that. All right. So there's the link. Who's been on every fad diet? Your name isn't attached there. Only thing that's ever worked for me. I change your name. Sounds like I'm saying that, but that was me back in the early 2000s. I know better now. All right. Awesome, guys. Any final takeaways from the last few days? What's been kind of the biggest lesson? Even if that lesson is, oh, I just have to double down on what I already know, that can be a very big lesson in itself. Drop that in the chat if you got one, or unmute yourself. I'd love to hear from you. That's what these last few minutes are for. Scheduling workouts. Yeah, if it's in the calendar, it tends to get done. I made that mistake for years where I would kind of wing it, and then I'd be stacking up workouts on the weekend, and it wasn't perfect or ideal. Now I have that time block daily reoccurring. Nothing can get scheduled in there. I'm okay if I sacrifice some work for my health, and it pays off. Move more and eat more protein. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. As simple as that. At the end of the day, the hard part is doing it. Water before coffee. How much water? 1 liter? Rebecca said I made. Determination will get you through, not motivation. Yeah. Motivation is fleeting for all of us. It might spark you for a little bit, but it's not a sustainable source of energy. Momentum over motivation. Just showing up, doing the things day to day. Like Jackie said, now it's all second nature, but obviously it took forcing it first. That is you, Ash. Okay, nice. Awesome. Okay, guys. Kept you here over time already. Hopefully lots of value. Reach out. I'll get the replay out. Again, if you haven't booked that consult, you aren't yet a member, I recommend you do. We're not going to what would you call it, strong arm you into a program if it doesn't make sense for you. But at least it gives you a starting point, kickstart. All right. Have a good weekend. Talk soon. Pray for no more snow. Go Jets, go.